12:14 p.m., April 30th, 1945, Berlin, Führerbunker. The ceiling shook as another Soviet shell crashed somewhere above, showering dust over Adolf Hitler's trembling hands. He was already in danger, far beyond escape. His heartbeat slammed in his ears, mixing with the cold metallic groan of collapsing steel. Smoke crawled through the hallway, carrying the final truth. Everything he built was dying, and he felt something he had spent a lifetime denying: fear. He stared at a map that no longer meant anything, lines of divisions that no longer existed, armies that had already abandoned him. The paradox was crushing. The man who once commanded millions now couldn't control the next 5 minutes. But if you skip this moment, you miss the one question history still asks. But why did he choose this exact ending? From the Soviet soldier's POV, stepping through the ruins above, the bunker was a trap waiting to be cracked open. From the narrator's POV, time was collapsing toward a single irreversible second. Hitler felt memories flash, his early failures, his rise, his delusions. But none mattered now. The footsteps of Soviet troops grew louder, echoing like a countdown. Outside, enemy guns roared. Inside, Hitler's world shrank to a dim room lit by a dying bulb. He whispered to himself, doubting everything, clutching the pistol like it could answer his fears. He knew surrender meant exposure, humiliation, justice, and worse, a truth he could not control. He sensed a greater disaster approaching, one even his death might not stop. As the bunker walls cracked and dust rained down harder, he made his final choice. And just as he lifted the weapon, a voice behind the door shouted a warning. Something unexpected, something that would change the next seconds entirely. The blast that thundered above the bunker door froze Hitler mid-motion. 12:16 p.m., Berlin burned like a collapsing star, its streets choked with smoke and the metallic stench of war. Soviet troops were now only meters away, their boots striking the broken pavement in a rhythm that felt like a death march. Inside, the bunker vibrated with every explosion, dust drifting like ash over the last loyalists who knew the end was closing in. The world outside expanded into chaos. Shattered buildings, burning vehicles, wounded soldiers crawling across debris. The battlefield breathed like a wounded beast. From the Soviet commander's POV, the final push toward the bunker was not victory. It was a warning that something darker waited below. From the German guard's POV, every shadow felt like betrayal, every echo like the signal that their doomed leader would not escape the fate he brought upon millions. Hitler, pacing with trembling hands, struggled to bury a rising storm inside him. Doubt clawed at him. Every plan had collapsed. Every ally had vanished. For the first time, he questioned his own story, the story he forced upon the world. The contradiction was brutal. He demanded loyalty yet trusted no one. He preached destiny yet feared the future more than any man alive. Curiosity loops twisted through the bunker. What did the Soviets know? How close were they? Could capture be hours or minutes away? A frantic aide whispered reports. Enemy troops were breaching the government district, flamethrowers clearing tunnels nearby, artillery zeroing in on the bunker's last coordinates. Every update pushed Hitler deeper into panic. From the narrator's POV, history itself felt like it was holding its breath. The bunker walls hummed with despair. The fluorescent lights flickered with each concussive blast. Hitler's steps echoed through the narrow hallways as he confronted the truth he had avoided his entire life. Power had never made him invincible. A junior officer, voice shaking, approached with documents for last-minute orders. His hands trembled so violently that papers slipped from his grip, scattering across the concrete like the remnants of a collapsing empire. Hitler watched the officer kneel, collecting each page with the desperation of someone who knew these might be the final tasks he ever performed. Even loyalty felt empty now. The Soviet perspective intensified. They advanced with caution, sensing the bunker was filled with traps, lies, and ghosts. A scout radioed that they had found underground air vents still blowing warm air. Proof that Hitler had not fled. The chase tightened. The circle closed. Hitler stepped back into his dim quarters, the stale air heavy with smoke and sweat. Every sound felt amplified. The drip of water, the rumble of artillery, the faint sobs of those who realized the world they fought for was gone. His mind twisted between self-pity and rage. He blamed everyone but himself, yet the truth gnawed at him. The collapse was his own creation. Then came the moment that shifted everything. A guard sprinted down the hallway, shouting that Soviet troops had broken through another defensive line and were closing in faster than expected. The bunker shook violently as another shell landed close, far closer than any before. Hitler looked toward the door, realizing time had run out. And in that instant, something else happened. Something no one in the bunker could have predicted. Something that forced his final decision into motion. 12:20 p.m. The bunker plunged into its most critical moment. The ceiling groaned as Soviet explosives tore open the earth above, spraying concrete dust into the narrow corridors. Hitler staggered, gripping the wall, realizing he was moments from being dragged into the light he feared more than death. A countdown lived inside every heartbeat. The danger was absolute, closing in from every direction. From the Soviet scouts' POV, the shattered stairwell leading downward felt like a throat swallowing them into darkness. Their commander barked orders. Move slow, expect traps, expect resistance. But none of them expected the psychological weight inside those walls. The suffocating heat, the echoing sobs, the metallic scent of despair. They were entering the final chamber of a collapsing nightmare. Hitler's transformation unfolded in the worst possible way. Not heroic, never heroic, but a final plunge into the delusion that had driven him. His hands trembled violently, not from courage but from the terror of being exposed, questioned, judged. His last loyalists watched him with hollow eyes, understanding they were witnessing the end of a dictator who had promised them destiny but delivered ruin. The bunker lights flickered again, dropping the room into a half-darkness that made the moment feel unreal. Hitler sank into a chair, Eva Braun at his side, both listening to the muffled Soviet shouts echoing from the upper levels. The countdown tightened. 10 seconds. 9. 8. Each second carved deeper into his fear. He imagined the Soviets storming in, dragging him out, parading him before the world he had lied to. The thought crushed whatever remained of his resolve. From the narrator's POV, history felt like it was bending toward one inevitable point. This was the answer to the mystery from part 1. Why did he really choose suicide? Not courage. Not loyalty to his cause. It was fear, pure, consuming fear of accountability. Fear of truth. Fear of a world that would finally speak back. A deep rumble shook the bunker. Dust fell in heavy clouds. Aides screamed that Soviet troops had breached the final barrier. Hitler's breath hitched. The contradiction shattered him. He had demanded absolute power, yet he died powerless. He claimed destiny, yet he ran from it. He preached strength, yet met his end in the weakest way possible. He raised the pistol, hands trembling, eyes unfocused, whispering words no one could fully hear. A final flash of delusion washed over him, visions of an empire that would never exist, of loyalty that crumbled the moment truth arrived. The room held its breath, and then the gunshot cracked through the bunker, sharp and final. Silence followed. A silence so heavy it felt alive. The loyalists outside froze. The Soviets upstairs paused. The world itself exhaled. The dictator who once terrorized continents was gone in an instant, a hollow end to a hollow man. But as the Soviets descended deeper, unaware of what they were about to discover, the camera of history pulled back. Because this story isn't the end. In the ruins of Berlin, darker secrets waited. Secrets that would ignite the next chapter. A chapter far more unsettling than the one that ended.